Okay, so the idea that some corporation really wants me to tell them, it breaks down on all levels if you actually think about it. Like it's a corporation first off, so who am I telling? Like Jack or Susan or who would happen to? So it's not even a thing between persons. It's a random. It's like saying, you know, we feel really attracted to you. You know, and you get this thing saying in the mail saying, we feel really attracted to you. Like, please write back. Here's our address. So you write back saying, I too feel strongly about you. And it's like, but who's going to get it? It can't go to a we. It's got to go to a. So part of the joke of the book, I think, is that, or the premise of the humor, is that a human being would be particularly human, which I would see bluntness as a kind of willingness to come out with what you have to say. To be that way toward some corporate entity is, I think, part of some sort of the foundational humor of it. The other thing I'd say is that I had written a couple of books of poems, more traditional, I guess, what would be thought of as, more traditionally as poetry, and those voices. I can read you one. This, like, what these poems are just very different, and so this is a poem called The Detailed History of the Western World. Where the river gets swift,
Make sure you're not blocking the camera real quick. One is got to scoot around. All right, it's fine.
This is a detailed history of the Western world. Where the river gets swift, my grandfather stops rowing, turns around, and with one oar sweeps a rowboat full of cats into water so black you could say it was almost anything. So the thing is that I had this, I would write poems that were in this kind of moment of seriousness, which was, I'd say, impersonal in a way, where I was I think if you read my poems, you get a sense only of one part, one aspect, or one capability of personality or persona, something, I don't know how to describe it, and so I'd never had an outlet for kind of being humorous or being explicit about, you can have poetic moments are sort of this disruption that occurs in life where you feel something subtle and serious, but no matter how many times that happens, you can't stay there. You always go back into like more mundane thoughts or back into the manifestation of your various hungers and your various ways of dealing with all the stuff you have to deal with. And so part of the kind of joke, too, of Letters to Wendy's is that have a character who's poetic, who feels these same kind of poetic disruptions, but who is in a context where it's absurd to feel that way, and where you are going to, where that occurs, but then you always slip back down into the concrete. So if you think of it in terms of abstract and concrete, the poetic goes toward the abstract and achieves this kind of aesthetic beauty. But then, you know, I think one of the very early entries that I wrote, the one, I wonder what beauty really is. I know that the little girl, Wendy, who's pictured on your cups and bags is beautiful, and so is the green, green descent into the valley. Within this descent, I can feel the overpowering order within which I am but a temporary eccentricity. So that's typical poetic stuff. But then the added thing in this book is like the post-poetic. Is like I always tack on in this book the post-poetic. Always make you aware that no matter how poetic you feel, or no matter what kind of poetic moment you can get into, it's going to end and you're going to slip right back into hunger and sexuality and whatever else. And so you can't stay there. And so, yeah, so I think that's part of it.
Second question, why did you do this necessarily? Like, why did you just walk into Wendy's one day and decide, I'm going to write letters to Wendy's?
Just seeing the card.
Seeing the card.
Is there a space that's like a binary opposite of Wendy's for the speaker? Like, what would be? Is there an opposite? Is there a binary opposite for Wendy's for the speaker?
Maybe home. Like whatever home is imagined to be. I can't think of anything else.
What's your last question?
Do you still go to Wendy's? And what goes through your mind if you do?
I don't think about it really. Yeah, I don't. I usually go through the drive-thru if I go there. So. But, the only thing Wendy's related, I'd say, is like sometimes if I see their ads, I'll think about the book, because I saw a rash of ads that seemed to me, it made me wonder if they were trying to like take something about the book or like the premise of the book and turn it into an ad, where they had this kind of crazy guy.
Yeah, I saw this. I wondered the same thing. He stands outside the window yelling.
Yeah, so that's about all.